Texas men's basketball team, how they're going to look come obviously next season, because with the transfer portal, you can really remake and overhaul an entire roster in an off season. And it looks like Texas men's basketball maybe in the process of doing that. We learned yesterday, we talked about it, Texas acquiring 3 commitments via the transfer portal. Indiana State's Julian Larry, a transfer guard, Indiana State's Jason Kent as well, a wing player, and they acquired the commitment of Arkansas transfer Tramon Mark. And we were waiting on announcements from several Texas players, what their intentions were going to be. And we found that out yesterday as well, late in the day. Dylan Mitchell will pursue his NBA career. So he will enter his name into the NFL in the NBA draft, but also he will enter the transfer portal. So he's keeping all of his options open. And we learned Tyrese Hunter will enter the transfer portal. And we learned that yesterday as well. So those are the 2 players who are departing the Texas men's basketball team. Patrick, I know you pay a lot of attention to college basketball, but also the NBA too. Let's start with Dylan Mitchell.
Yes.
Is it more likely, in your opinion, since he is keeping his options open, declaring for the NBA draft, but also going to be, pursuing potential opportunities in the transfer portal? What's more likely for Dylan Mitchell, NBA or transfer portal?
It's going to matter of what NIL he gets, I think, and that's not a shot at him. I think it's just, if you're going to weigh your options, he probably will get drafted if he goes. I've seen him projected, or people say that he has a possibility of being a late first-round pick still. But he also, will definitely be a second-round pick if he does not go in the first round. People still like his size, his wingspan, his footwork, his athleticism. They just really want to get his offensive game up a little bit more, and they just want to be able to shoot threes. That's the main thing they want, is him to be able to shoot threes. If they can make him into a 3-and-D wing, that's fine with most players, and that's why you say late first round as well, because a lot of these late first round teams, they just want 3-and-D wing defenders because they have the star players, and all they really need you to do is go space the court on the offensive end. You don't need to be that much a part of the offense for a lot of these teams. You can space the court and hit that 3 when they kick the ball back out to you, and then go play defense on the other end. And you're 6'8", you can play. I don't know if he plays great down to a guard. Maybe at the NBA level he could, but he has wide enough shoulders and everything else that he can bounce around with some of the guys now all the way up to a 4 at points. So if you say he can guard 2 to 4 and hit the 3, he's a prospect for the NBA. Whether he makes it or not, once he can get there, can he get past some of his mental hangups about shooting the ball? Did not shoot the ball a lot for Texas throughout the season. Just didn't put up a lot of shots, which I know he probably didn't have a green light for a lot of it. But yeah. I refuse to believe that he was told, do not shoot a 3 under any circumstances ever. And that's what it felt like for most of the season, that he would get wide open threes. They would leave him open and he wouldn't take them. So he's just got to get past that a little bit better, feel a little more confident in that 3-point shot, and he can become an NBA prospect really quickly. But I think if the question is, if no one's willing to say he's going to be taken in the first round and a school comes around with a decent NIL offer for him, as well as, you're going to be a starter, we're going to put you in this prominent role, we have this, maybe, a school that has produced more NBA talent recently, more players of that ilk, then you could see that he may transfer there. It would not surprise me at all, though, if he went to the NBA draft. He wanted to go a year ago. In Texas' plans, I don't think they were expecting him to be more than a one and done. He came back, which was nice because Dylan Dessou ended up coming back. You kind of were able to stretch that old roster one more year.
Yeah.
But you stretch it past there. Tyrese Hunter was not someone that was expected to play all 4 years here at Texas either. So if you say for Texas, it's disappointing to see guys that are very talented players and part of your roster. But I don't know in the long-term roster building for Texas, they were really expecting to have Dylan Mitchell and Tyrese Hunter part of their plans in 2024. We heard Rodney Terry talk about it a week or so ago, that he was basically just waiting for them to come to him. Because if they were saying they wanted to come back, I think he would have accepted them with open arms. But it did not appear that he was necessarily really, really trying to keep either one of them. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing will be debatable, and we can see. But I think Rodney Terry understands this is a big make or break year for him, that he's going into a season now where you're going to the SEC, where you no longer have the excuse of we're playing 6 ranked teams in a row. It's going to be a hard run for us. You don't have that excuse anymore. And he's building this roster in what he wants. Him and Chris Ogden, who's the general manager now, Frank Haith, who's one of his right-hand man. These guys are building the culture and the roster they want with a freshman that they're really high on, that I'm very high on in Trey Johnson. Nick Cody's going to come in at power forward. I think he'll probably see some minutes next year, too, just because of they don't necessarily have the other guys. You like to see them get a true point guard because Mack, who they just got from Arkansas, is not necessarily an on-ball guard as much as he's an off-ball guard. So you'd like to see another guard come in that could handle the ball more, unless Trey's going to be it, but he probably don't want to give a true freshman the ball the entire time, or they'll full court press him all season. So you'd like to see a true point guard that's got some, maybe in another probably senior, another junior or senior that you bring in there. And then you'd like to see another big man that you can go inside with and maybe go get some rebounds, play some good shot blocking, some rim protecting defense is what you'd like to see. But this is a big year for Rodney Terry because now it is his team fully. And this is the installing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He's brought in a couple guys from Indiana State that he feels are going to be big pieces for him and are going to be part of the culture bearing of his new team. But it's a big change for Texas because you thought you maybe still get a little holdover with Dylan Mitchell and Tyrese Hunter. But with them both being gone, it's a new era. And I'll tell you the one big thing, you got to get that 3-point shooting up because if you're losing those two guys, one of their main flaws for both was Tyrese Hunter was extremely inconsistent from three and Dylan Mitchell did not take them. You need to be able to stretch that court a little bit more because that is a huge factor in today's game. You look at Alabama. Alabama made it to the Final Four, was the only team who gave UConn a push all postseason. The last 2 years, the only team that's really challenged UConn was Alabama, and that was because they could rim protect and shoot threes. We talk about it in college football, or we talk about in the NFL, you got to be able to have a quarterback and a pass rush. It's you have to have a rim protector and a three-point shooting in college basketball in today's game to be really good. And then you'd like to add a dynamic scorer on top of that.
Yeah, because it only makes sense, right? Those are you got your high percentage buckets at the rim. You got to make sure you eliminate those. And if you can light it up from outside, that's a low percentage shot. If you can light it up from outside, man, you'll stay in every game.
Yeah.
No matter how outmatched you are or whatever the matchup is. And you're right about the 3-point shooting. And we brought this up when we talked about the acquisitions yesterday. Julian Larry, the kid from Indiana State, really good 3-point shooter, right? 46%. Jason Kent, you brought up the fact that he improved. He's at close to 37% 3-point shooting, but that's better than he was his previous 3 years where he was at 27% 3-point shooting. And then, of course, Tramon Mark is he's just a bucket, right? That guy to just score from different levels on the court. So that's obviously going to be a priority for Coach Terry. I think size, getting bigger guys, getting more length and size on the roster is also going to be a bigger priority. And we'll find out this season.